joining us. My name is Joshua Young, and I appreciate you joining for this Tech Academy session where we're going to talk about AEM sites and creating exceptional experiences with a new feature of AEM sites that we call Edge Delivery Services. And I am going to be joined in a little bit by my colleague, who is an expert senior consultant for AEM and actually works in the UK, Chris Pillsworth. He'll be here in a few minutes to give you some hands-on demonstrations of what this actually means. And again, I'm Joshua Young. I'm the EMEA Solutions Sales Leader for Content and Workfront in here at Adobe, focusing a lot on AEM sites. And I'm pretty excited to talk to you about this topic. And I think what's important is, every digital experience that we build and that we deliver to our customer has a purpose. We're creating content, we're creating assets, we're putting this together in order to drive engagement with customers and conversion. And that's the key goal, and it's something to always remember. And that's why at Adobe, we're focusing a ton on making sure that we have an outcome-based, biased way of looking at content. So other CMS providers build a lot of initiative around building, managing, and delivering that content for digital properties. And that's an element, of course, of what AEM, Adobe Experience Manager sites can do. But we also want to maximize the impact of those experiences so that we can drive measurable business outcomes. Being able to drive outcomes and being in a position where that impact can be felt and understood will help feed future projects, but also ensure that the work that we're doing is actually driving and leading to the conversions that we expect in the digital world. And so what we've done is we've looked at these three main pillars that we're going to emphasize and focus on. The first being high impact experiences, which is driving that conversion of higher traffic and engagement. And it's all about delivering fast, high performing, in this case, performing meaning fast web experiences to customers. Next is being able to achieve extreme content velocity, which is empowering all, democratizing the ability to create content and that valuable on-brand customer experiences within AEM. And lastly, the ability to have rapid development, being able to work quickly between all the different teams who are engaged in making sure these experiences are out there for you, building and deploying rapidly, and being able to be flexible and having a simple modern web platform in order to achieve that. So these three elements of speed and performance, speed and content creation, and speed and development are very critical to what Edge Delivery Services is meant to provide. So I'm interested, for those that are joining, if you wouldn't mind maybe answering this poll for us, which should appear somewhere, that poll being, tell us which of these three is the most critical for your business, because we have customers that are very focused on making sure that the delivery is fast, because they need to make sure every one of their customers are having the fastest experience possible. Some are really focused on being able to create content quickly, and then some really want to make sure that they can iterate and build sites fast. So I'm curious, across your businesses, which of these three is the most important to you in order to drive as a digital priority what your business needs? So you can keep answering that as I go along, as I go through some of these slides, and you may think more as Chris goes through his presentation, but this is really interesting for us to know. So I'm going to touch quickly on high impact experiences. And the fact is, we're built this performance first architecture with Edge Delivery Services that focuses on being able to achieve a lighthouse score of 100 or as close to 100 as possible. Our own web presence prior to using AEM had a very low performance, but now we achieve 100 lighthouse score. And what does that mean? Well, that means we have higher visits via SEO, more page views, a lower bounce rate, more engagement, and average time on page and repeat visitors. These are all metrics that help show that the experiences are impactful. And this is achieved by having a performance first architecture that's built on the idea of being able to measure the outcome of the performance of what we're delivering. And so that's one key piece of Edge Delivery Services, is being fast and being able to show that it actually is fast and measure that. Next is the idea of content velocity, which means we want content authors or anybody contributing to content to be able to do so within the tools that they feel is the most easiest for them to work, because organizations collaborate across a number of different systems. So, we internally in Adobe use different tools, things like Word and Microsoft 365 or Google Docs, and different ways that we collaborate. And your organizations are going to do the same. And we want to remove the roadblocks of being able to author content quickly by using the systems that you typically use in order to author and create content and collaborate, and actually be able to move that content straight into an experience that gets delivered, and just simplify the ability to offer content across teams and tools that you're already using within the organization. And lastly, when it comes to development fast, we think about a content first approach. So moving away from a model where you're designing and developing and modeling what what the tools need to be within a content management platform, and then eventually creating content and finally building that and delivering the experience. We want content to sit at the hub and to be able to iterate quickly between development teams and design and content and creatives all together to be able to deliver fast. So being able to allow easy use of content authoring and more modern tools that are lightweight for development allows development teams, designers, creatives, and content authors to all work together in a more iterative way and accelerate time to market for being able to realize value with a content first approach. So this is just a few touch points on these main topics, but we've got Chris Pillsworth here who's going to join, and I'm very excited because he's going to walk you through basically how to do this for real, not just the slides that I've been showing, but Chris is going to show this for real. So Chris, quick introduction to yourself. I'm going to turn my camera off and you can go ahead and jump into showing what this means in reality.
Thanks, Josh. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Pillsworth. As Josh said, I'm a solution consultant here at Adobe. So I'm going to take you through a demonstration of some of the features of AEM with Edge Delivery Services now as we go. So, okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen. So what I'll do is kind of cover off on those kind of three main areas of benefit as we go through with Adobe Experience Manager. So, what we can do to speed up the experience from an editing perspective, what that means for the delivered page, what it means for visitors. And I see that that's quite important from our survey here. We've got almost 2/3 of respondents wanting those high impact experiences, those great visitor experiences to drive engagement. And then we'll look at what that means in terms of development time, getting those changes out there, getting those websites out there much more quickly, which is for some customers very important. So what we've got here is just a kind of Chrome page, and what I've got is an example of a page that we use, our Weekend brand that you may have seen before, in a preview environment. So when an author first comes to Adobe Experience Manager with Edge Delivery Services, they can come to this page, and using an extension to the browser, called the AEM Sidekick, all they need to do to be able to drop in and start to edit this page is to fire up that Sidekick and hit the edit button. So the first thing you'll notice here is that the authoring environment here is quite different from traditional visual editing of AEM. What we've done here is given access for authors to create and edit content in tools they're very familiar with, and quite often actually create the content initially in as well. So quite often we'll see from customers that content is created, it's reviewed, it's proofed, it's commented on in Microsoft Word before going out to being published on the site. So for users that kind of follow a workflow like that, or simply want to be able to create and manage content throughout the organization more easily, what we've done is kind of given them access in the tools that they're already familiar with. So within here, I can kind of come in and say, make some changes initially for these documents. Here I've got some text that I'd like to remove, and I can say something like a tech webinar, for example. So I can add some text in. I can simply make those changes, and then back up in the top here again, I've got the Sidekick, and from here I can go in and directly preview those changes on my website. So within a second or so, we should see that that content has come through, and here we go. We've got that kind of Hey Tech webinar in there. So it's super quick and simple to kind of come in, make these content changes. You know, if we were to, make some kind of spelling changes, errors in here, we'd get some suggestions from Microsoft Word in terms of spelling and grammar, etc., to help us along our journey. I know I definitely need the help from my spelling. But this is really kind of aiming to assist the author in getting that content out there, making it really quick. Of course, within Word, we've got our version history for the document as well, so we can see that we've made changes over time. So, like you'd have in AEM, visual editing, you've still got that kind of history and all of everything that goes into the document. So Microsoft Word is just one of the editing environments that we've got for Edge Delivery Services. What we're seeking to do is kind of extend that, over recent years, we've extended the ways that content can be delivered, whether that's headlessly through visual editing and now through Edge Delivery Services. We're also trying to expand the ways of editing content as well. So you can edit obviously headless content in the visual content fragment editor. But obviously now we can add document-based editing to the set of capabilities of AEM as well. So as well as Microsoft Word, we've also got compatibility with the Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets capabilities. So no matter what kind of cloud editing technology you use, you can take this away and start to use these. It's important to mention actually that from a content author's perspective, they don't get control of the kind of the style of the site as such, but rather just the content. So it will be down to your designers to provide the style and the capabilities for these sites. This is really kind of just keeping the authors focused on the content. You may notice that we've got these kind of tables throughout the document. These correspond to what are known as blocks within Edge Delivery Services. So these are the literal building blocks of our site, and these enable us to add capabilities to those content and attach behavior. So at the top of this page here, we've got this carousel. Because I've named this as the carousel block, this will then kind of apply that behavior, which enables you to scroll through. But that's similar functionality could be added for any other element of the page. Now, when it comes to kind of bringing in assets from your repository, if we fire up this Sidekick again, I can also hit My Assets over here. And what this will do is connect you through to your central asset repository within AEM and give you the ability to kind of pick these and to select these assets. So if I wanted to kind of change the assets that we're using here, I can select one of these, and I can now bring that into my document over here. So you've got good access to all of those kind of centralized assets. One thing to note is that, from an author's perspective, they don't really need to worry about optimizing these assets for delivery. This is something that will happen automatically. So to ensure that you get the kind of best performance when we deliver these pages. So if I kind of preview that page again now, I should be able to see that hopefully my page is refreshed and we can see our new images kind of carried through into this layout. So pretty simple to start creating and editing content, and in fact you can put any image from there. It doesn't need to directly be from AEM necessarily. Okay, so now if you find that users, a great way of kind of creating these pages or template pages is to simply create template documents and then copy those and create those. But, if you're looking for a kind of a library of how to compose these pages, from the building blocks, what we've also got is the library capability. And what this is a kind of some kind of reference blocks basically that you can simply copy and add onto the page. So here we've got things like featured articles, we've got heroes, carousels, etc. So I can just copy these elements of the page. I can bring them into my kind of document here, paste them in, and and I'll immediately have that kind of formatted content ready to deliver. So it's pretty simple to kind of add new content to the page, knowing that for authors it's going to be structured in the right way, ready to push out and deliver. It's worth just saying, actually, so all of the pages that we've got are actually kind of stored in a directory. So here they're stored in SharePoint, but similarly could be stored in Google Drive as well. And the organization that you see here corresponds to the layout of the page. So the one that we've been looking so far is our index.doc, and we're pulling in our navigation from nav and our footer from the footer document. But all of these pages can be kind of published out and be ready to deliver on site. If we take a look at this Arctic surfing page, for example, this is a good example of where, rather than seeing some of the blocks that we saw on the initial page where we've got that layout, this is a page of pure content. So we've got just our header image, our hero image, the title, and then we've just got some document content as we go through. So there's actually a kind of treatment applied to this page. So as we kind of come through, I think it was this, was it the Arctic surfing, I think, through here. When we kind of bring this content through here, there's actually some kind of auto blocking that happens on the page. So what we've done is taken that hero image and the title, and we've been able to format that in a way that's best presentable. And obviously all of the kind of the styling that you'd have is applied to titles, etc. Great. Okay, so hopefully you can see it's pretty simple to get kind of up and started and ready to start creating content, building content in tools that are very, very familiar to you. I mentioned previously about kind of how the assets are kind of treated. Edge Delivery Services has a real focus on page speed when it comes to delivery, which is something a lot of websites really struggle with, I think, these days. So if we take a look at the page insights for this page, here you can see we've got, this is for the weekend site here. We've got 100 in terms of performance, in accessibility, and in best practices. The only reason we're struggling here with SEO is that this site is currently blocked from indexing from Google, so it won't get the full score there. But this is really important, right? Because practically, what this metric means for visitors is it's a metric to kind of quantify their experience, their how their site is going to work, particularly for users that are on mobile devices, which is really where the performance struggle can start. Slow devices that throttle CPUs when the batteries are low, usually on poor connections on the train. If you can get a good performance score for mobile visitors, you can obviously reach the largest number of visitors and be confident that they have a fast and efficient experience. Practically, what that means is that the page will render most quickly, but that really corresponds to their impression, I think, of your brand, your website. It means that they bounce less frequently, and it actually means it's more likely for them to start to engage in your site and start to experience the services that you have to offer. And we've seen this particularly useful for retail sites where that site performance has a direct correlation to what you see in terms of baskets and checkouts on site. So yeah, from our perspective, this performance score is super important, and by the looks of the survey, it is for you guys too. Okay, great. So I wanted to just spend a little bit of time talking about development, because we do hear from quite a few customers that particularly after a period of time, the process of developing new functionality for the site becomes quite slow. The team put in a lot of effort, or maybe but they're still not quite able to deliver to the pace that the business would like them to be able to. Or simply that finding developers with the right skills to help you manage your site when you come to make a change can be a real challenge. So what we've tried to do with Edge Delivery Services here is to use a set of ubiquitous technologies and standards and tools that all developers are really familiar with, and practically that is CSS and JavaScript, which any web developer will know about, and they can use those skills to really simply develop sites. So over the course of the last couple of years, with Adobe Experience Manager, what we've tried to do with automation around cloud, for example, is to shorten up that time that customers can then start to receive the value of their sites, start to get the infrastructure up more quickly, build their sites more quickly, create the content more quickly. And this is here, I think refined again with the from a development perspective. So here we've got here a GitHub repository. This is the code for the site that we saw earlier on. Our blocks, which are equivalent to our AEM components here, are simple parts of JavaScript and CSS that any developer will know and can be easily tested. And these are kind of brought together in a really simple way that enables developers to get great performance without thinking too hard about it, but also quickly make changes to those sites and get instant feedback. I'll give you a quick example of this. So here we've got, if I open up my local site, so the developers working locally, they may have a development environment kind of where they can start to edit their content. And here we've got a kind of local version of the development of this site. So I can come in here and start to make really quick changes to my link colors. So here I've changed it from hot pink to black and back again. So let's change that back. I'll do some web design here. I can also change the text as well. So let's change this to teal, for example. So we should see that we've got some, let's remove that hash, and we've got teal. So now we've got a nice pink headings and links, and we've got some nice teal text on our site. So we get that instant feedback, without even having to, refresh your browser. You can see those changes instantly. This can create a real fast feedback loop for developers. But then when it comes to kind of pushing that, what we've also got is the ability to create new development environments. So you can test those changes, you can share those changes really easily with all of your kind of developers. So if I say get push there. So let's just make that change again. So if I come into here, I've got our hot pink and I've got teal, so that's all good. So I can just say get push. What I can do is kind of push this up to another branch within our Git repository. So if I look over here, I've got another branch called front end. And what this does is as soon as we create this other branch, what that also does is add another environment, if you like, another development environment to our site. So instead of being main, what we look at is front end, for example. Then we'll see that new design kind of applied within here. So I think I've messed up the commit to that, but basically, anytime you kind of push code to another branch, you've immediately got another development environment with that named branch where you can start to test out code and check if that work, making sure that's worked before you kind of merge it back into the main area of the code. So it enables you to make those changes really simply, but also safely as well in a way that you can test. Just to come back to the pull request functionality here. So within GitHub, when you make a change, what you typically do is raise one of these pull requests. And what that would do is kind of give your colleagues a chance to review those changes and make sure that they're kind of okay, and provide their comments and feedback as you kind of change this. But what we also do here is now that we've kind of created our change on another branch, we've been able to preview that on its branch, but we've also found that the AEM kind of code sync bot has kind of provided an audit of all of the changes on this site as well. So what we've got here is a set of audits around performance, and we've got those kind of page speed scores, and of course we've got links back out to Google to see our kind of page insights as well. So if there are any kind of breakdowns of those scores needed, we can start to get feedback on those. So as as development goes on, as your site development kind of proceeds, you can make sure that you still stick to that best performance. You keep that, but you do that in a way that's very much a part of a very agile process for coding and delivery, etc. Okay, so I guess we've seen a kind of a little bit about how we can preview our content, how we can come into to editing those. We've looked a tiny bit around what that means in terms of our page insights, and then finally we've kind of looked at a little bit of the kind of development process of the site as well, and how that can kind of speed up the activities that developers are working with. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an unusual kind of approach. I think to managing content. It's really innovative, I think, and I think as we've Adobe ourselves has migrated a lot of our own sites across to Edge Delivery Services. It's one that's been very powerful in terms of speeding up that process and improving the performance, and in so doing so with the SEO for those sites also. So I would kind of point out that what we're seeing here today is not is a kind of feature of Adobe Experience Manager. It's something that kind of enhances the capabilities, so it can be used alongside the headless capabilities or the head-on capabilities of AEM. So giving you a really kind of diverse set of capabilities from the platform. I'll just mention one thing, I guess, is that when we go into think about managing the site ongoing, particularly talking about migrations and things like that and SEO, we're also able to kind of use the from within our SharePoint, use some of the documents like these redirects, for example. So here we've got an Excel sheet. So again, quite a familiar tool for a lot of people. But here we can start to manage those redirects. So as we think about migrating content across, etc., we can really easily kind of start to map old URLs to new. Here I've got some kind of utilities here. I've got a redirect set up for surfing that redirects to our magazine page. So if I kind of come to our main site and I hit surfing over here, this means I'll be kind of then redirected away to that kind of full URL. So again, kind of replicating that kind of vanity URL functionality of AEM, but it's a really simple way, I think, of managing data that can also be used on the site as well, alongside the content that gets served up. And of course, this can be augmented by AEM's headless capabilities. Great. Hopefully you found that useful as a kind of overview, a kind of a lightning tour of some of the capabilities of Adobe Experience Manager, Edge Delivery Services. I'll probably throw it back now to Josh, and just so he can give us a bit of a recap and take it from there.
Don't go very far though. Keep your camera on. I got some questions.
Okay, I'll be here. Don't worry.
Can you stop sharing real fast so I can switch over to my deck? So I want to just bring this back up one more time, just to make sure if you answer the survey on this, because it's super interesting. As we see, more than half of the respondents find that high impact experiences is the biggest digital, top digital priority, which I think is really interesting, because that's first in this box for a reason for us, because this is exactly where we see the biggest differentiator for this for us, and where we also have noticed that customers are the most interested in getting really high performing sites out there. But now a question I have for you, Chris, I kind of know the answer, but I'd like you to answer it maybe instead of me, just to see, is somebody asked, editing content in AEM sites, let's say you have an existing AEM sites implementation and you have an author instance available. Can we use Edge Delivery Services in that scenario?
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple of answers to that. So you can run the two side by side. These are both part of AEM Cloud Services, so you can use them in combination, whether it's head-on, whether it's document-based editing, or whether it's headless. We are also working on Adobe with piloting with a few customers a kind of a solution which is sort of a middle ground, I suppose, which enables you to continue to edit content within AEM, within that kind of visual editor that you'll be used to, but then start to use edge delivery services to then also get the performance gains that we saw from the site. So there's definitely some kind of hybrid solutions in place, but yes, this can all kind of work together and be kind of integrated side by side.
Very good, thank you. Thomas had some questions, which what we'll have to do is we'll follow up on this about some examples of sites that are using edge delivery. I think it would be best if we just